Well, I didn't see the green label plus certificate. It may indicate, let's see here. Keep going down. Okay. But the problem with that is if we go and look at LEED Online, let's look at the actual credit. So we're getting the second page of the form and not the first page for some reason. I'm struggling. What I wanted to show you was what the USGBC asked for. Just knowing the certification number. Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay. And this time at least I started with Internet Explorer. And I still can't get it here this time. So we should see another page. No, what I wanted to show you was, okay, so let me see if I can find what an actual certificate looks like from So I think what I did was I sent back a message and said basically this is what I need. So this is the form that typically the USGBC wants you to upload. So you can see down here. Well, the contractors actually supposed to provide that information. My point being that the submittals that you get a lot of times don't have all of the information, or you have to do some research to actually find that information online. In some cases, it's faster for me to go look the information up online than it is to go through that. But at other times, it's more difficult and it's more time-consuming to actually go through that whole exercise. a lot of times when I'm hired for consulting, I'm hired by the contractor, and this is the kind of stuff that I would do for the contractor, to research all this documentation. This is not really credit that would be assigned to the contractor's document, as opposed to the architect and the architect's consultants, because that's really kind of out of their purview. I'm doing some of this because we're having this class, so we're doing a little bit more of that than we normally do. But so that I'm just trying to show some examples of what people can expect when they're going through and looking at submittals and having to pull things up, and kind of the information that comes across and what you have to do in terms of research to find that. So so that is what you'd want to look for, is that certificate here. Right. And actually, in this case, I sent this one back to Flooring America, or whoever it was. I sent it back to Mark, basically, and I said, and I had sent this example saying this is what I need, and it came back to me, and I still didn't get the certificate. So I'm going to push it back to them again and make them go find the certificate, because for two reasons. Number one, they learn what it is that they need to do, so maybe the next time somebody else won't have to put them through that, and I also want them to understand, you know, I didn't give you an example of what it is. You should be able to then find the correct information and pull it up. So unfortunately, the form isn't working, which is really a drag, because I wanted to take everybody through filling out some of the forms. No, it's probably, it has to do with, see, it gave me a error. It probably has to do with a driver. I have, instead of having Adobe Reader installed, I have Foxit installed, so it may be, I've been able to get that to work some of the time, but not necessarily all the time. LEED Online can be rather finicky. I mean, it has some quirks. It's better than it was. It used to be really good. It's better than it used to be really good. It won't change load for me. Yeah, it's not going to load for me. But, it's not going to be very at all. So let me try through the Carpet Rug Institute. There is an alternative approach, although most companies don't use it. You can do your own. You can have your own third party do a small chamber testing procedure, but that's going to be more expensive than just going to the Carpet and Rug Institute. I'm sorry? Well, the test procedure is laid out. Yeah. They tell you exactly what you have to test for and everything like that. There's a procedure that's laid out. I think it might be, I'd have to look in the reference guide. A lot of them come out of California, either the California Air Resources Board or some other organizations like that. See there, it's California Section 1350 Standard Practice for VOC testing. So there you go. You can follow those guidelines and then. Okay, so here we go. So green label plus carpet, and then we pick whatever it is, and I don't remember what that exact carpet is.
list. Oh, it's probably a modular. Those are modular tiles, right? No, it's Shaw. I don't know if it's Shaw Industry Group or Shaw Industries. Chris, you're right. The wireless is slow. Yeah, that might help. Let's take a look at a couple of other things. Let's do this. So a lot of the layers knowing what they're going to be asked. So what I think of the concrete supplier knowing exactly what they have to do, and they have a letter and they break it all down. They tell you how much fly ash. So you can see here they're breaking it down by yard and by volume. So then it's easy to input all that information into the materials resource calculator. I think I sent you the materials resource calculator previously. And then we'll get a final total from the contractor at the end of the project and how much he spent on the concrete for the project. Okay, so now you can see what came up. And I'm not sure this is exactly the correct certificate. Yeah, and search for it, yeah. So let's see, look for that number. I can almost read that on this screen. 9968. So I guess not, Celine. The what? The one that I sent you guys? That's interesting. I'm not sure why that would be different. Okay, well I didn't like that either. So that's why typically you have to put in all the product information and everything. That's why a lot of times I'll just kick this back to the distributor and say, I mean, look how much time we spent on it already just trying to find the one certificate. That's obviously one of the challenges that you always face. Well, that's just the general program. Right, yeah, if the certificate expired, it would not be on there, but it's Shaw. I would seriously doubt that they let their certificates lapse. I mean, their whole business is things like carpeting, so I don't know if this is... It's even loading. Okay. That was entirely futile. So let's see. So then what I did was I just shot back the, this is what we need again. So that's where we are with that submittal. Let me do this. Oh, I know what I was going to do. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the other parts of that submittal too. And like I said, I'm not sure. Inbox. Okay. Okay, so the first thing Helen brought up was she got the CRA Green Label Plus right. We would want to upload that certificate. There is no carpet or cushion. I'm not sure with those carpet tiles, but there is a cushion, but it would be a valid question to ask the distributor if they're providing a cushion. There is another submittal for baseboard adhesive. That already came in, and that should be in the folders already. Yeah, the rollout mats are separate. So these are all good questions that you'd be asking yourself. We're looking at the project manual and the plans to see if some of this is specified within the specifications as well. Well, actually, we do want the recycled content information because we are going for that credit, so you do need that information. But we don't have, one of the things we don't have for the submittal will be cost information yet. But the contractor is supposed to be filling in the materials resource calculator. He has all those numbers, and those are somewhat, you know, they're his numbers, so it's up to him to put that information in. Yeah, typically the contractor fills all of that in, or Mark when he's working for the contractor. And a lot of times on the job that I'm working on, the STEED, they're asking for that monthly, along with the construction waste management log monthly, and they want the IAQ, the indoor air quality documentation monthly. So the photographs you're supposed to take within that document, and they actually have me going up to Moscow for 6 trips to go be, I guess, the lead cop for the architect. Yeah, well, we were talking recycled content, right? On the submittal you're talking about? I wouldn't go look at that. What do you mean they didn't match up? You mean the total percentages of them, or what they had on page 1 didn't match to page 2? Well, now you use half of pre-consumer and all of post-consumer. So if it's, well, if that's your pre-consumer is 37%, you'd take half of that, and then you'd add that to the post-consumer, and that's what your recycled content would be out of the material. No, you're supposed to leave it at the actual percentage that it is. And I see a lot of that happen too. I had another submittal, if you go through the submittals on this, and I forget who it was right now, but they added everything together, and I see this, it's very common to just take the pre and post consumer, add them together and go, okay, it's 95% recycled content, where in reality, it's, you know, if it's 50% pre-consumer, then it's really 25%, and if you have 25% post-consumer, then you really only have 50% recycled content. And I see that quite frequently. I'm sorry? Because that's what that's what the credit calls for. It's half pre-consumer and post-consumer. And the reason the USGBC does that is because a lot of times in the manufacturing process, say you're making something metal and you're machining it down, well, you have all those metal scraps. Well, you just put those back in the smelter and melt them down again, right? So it doesn't really go out. It's not like a product coming back after it's gone through its useful life and back into the stream. Instead, it's something that actually saves the manufacturer money, because rather than having to throw it away, they just melt it down and use it all over again. The same would be true of like a lot of plastics, or like particle board a lot of times has a lot of pre-consumer, but it has almost no post-consumer, because of course, you know, the sawmills take their planer shavings and everything else and then grind it up to make particle board and glue that together. Well, that's all pre-consumer. Well, they have nothing else really to do with the sawdust anyway, so it's a product that they came up with that helps their business, as opposed to something that's keeping things out of the landfill. It's just, you know, it's of more value for them to do that, so the USGBC incentivizes that less. So that's the way the credit is structured. Let's see. Yeah, we're not attempting rapidly renewable materials. And you are right, there is no information on the PC to glue that down. And I think that was one of in my first email what I asked about. So I think Helen did a real good analysis of what things to look for based on the score sheet and kind of what the credit requirements are. So I think it's a great exercise to go through if you really want to evaluate it and have me come back and kind of give you pointers on what you need to maybe consider that you overlooked. I think it's a good exercise to go through. Let's see here. I'm really bummed. I was really hoping that we get to go through some of the submittals today, or uploading things to LEED Online. I wanted to look for the LEED Online, the templates aren't working correctly. So I would love to do that, but if the template won't load, there's no way that we can make that work. Let me try a different template to see if I can get this to work. Drum roll, please. Oh, look at that. This worked. Okay. Let's do it. So we started covering some of the, I wish I had another screen, the adhesives and sealants and those types of things. So let me pull up one of the pieces. Here's the flooring adhesive. Okay, so sure. It doesn't. It's interesting if you talk to Kevin here at the IDL about it. I think I would talk a little bit about when we did the watershed project for the city, and they had picked glazing that had too much tint on it, so it wouldn't work under the USGBC's formula for figuring out daylighting. Okay, I couldn't make it work that we had enough daylight to earn the credit. So I had, at the time we were working with Musgrove, so I had Musgrove go out there with me, and we actually took a photometer out there to actually measure the different levels of daylight inside, and it was even worse. And in talking to Kevin a little bit about it, he said, yeah, actually that's a pretty loose system, and it's just kind of a approximation. It's really not very accurate. There are a lot of things it doesn't take into account. So he said, you know, chances are the best you're going to do is by doing it through the USGBC's calculations, and it's going to not turn out as well in most cases. I mean, there might be a case or two where you've got a really unique situation where it might be that you can measure and actually beat the calculations, but for the most part, the calculations are going to be the easiest way to earn the credit. So, okay, so we'll just do this one. We'll do the Eco 575. And we know that less than 40 grams per liter. So there's a wall-based adhesive. then you put in the manufacturing. Okay, so a couple of things. Number one is if you're going to upload the cut sheet, then you click this box here. Now, all of this optional part here, I think I talked a little bit about, we had a project where the mechanical engineer or the air conditioning technician decided that he ran out of duct sealant, so he just went out to the van and grabbed a can of something, and it was not meeting the VOC levels that were set out for the duct sealant. So you can go through an alternate process, or if there were a product that you wanted to use that did not meet the VOC limit, this allowable level here, you can do what's called a VOC budget. So you've got a baseline case, and then you've got the design case. So if you fall below the design case level, then you are actually in compliance by budget. But then you have to have everybody track. You'll notice here, so for all the adhesives, you have to track the volumes. So what I've gotten in the habit of doing is actually asking the subs to track volumes of that stuff in case this comes up, because otherwise it's after the fact. How many tubes of caulk did you use? You know, how much stuff did you use on the job? So if they track it while they're doing it and you get into that situation, at least there is a way to bail yourself out. So then if you have another product, you click the button there and it'll let you add as many products as you need to add. Once you're done, you save the form, and then I'm sorry, Vernon, I didn't hear you. Right. Well, no, I asked. No, I typically will just ask them for the quantities of it and try and get the quantities from them. I don't make it a hard requirement because in a lot of cases we can get by without it. So I try and ask for it and keep a record of it. But I have never made it a requirement. I'm hoping most of the time people pay attention to this stuff and don't get it messed up. Okay, so see you later. Right, well, but that's to the architect, it doesn't really matter, right? To the subcontractor, something like that probably matters more, so that they know for future work how much they're using for the say the job that it is. Okay, and then non-fluorine adhesives and sealants. So this would be things like caulks or PVC cement or coat-based adhesive wouldn't fall into there. We can just also FRP, so the fiberglass reinforced product you put up on the wall. So, for example, there's the fiberglass substrate adhesive. If you had construction adhesive, so let's say you're putting down a subfloor and you're gluing it down to the joist, you'd have a construction adhesive there. Metal to metal, in some cases you may be bonding a piece of metal to something else, signs or anything like that. So again, you really have to think about all the different things people could be doing. Drywall, if you're gluing drywall up rather than, let's say you've got a concrete wall and you want to put drywall up on it, then you'd use adhesive to attach the drywall directly to the concrete. So there's another place that you'd use an adhesive. So all those things. So I think I said on this job, and I have that PVC adhesive. The plumber came back and said, well, somebody at the county told me that it was such a small amount that I didn't have to submit anything. And it's like, no, that isn't the way it works. And it's like, I don't think anybody at the county told you that. But that's the way it worked out. So we got the correct documentation from. It's interesting to see how different people deal with that stuff. Let's see. So let's find the PVC. So I think I've got it down here. So you can see also Firestop would be another one that they use a fair amount of that has VOCs in it that you need to be. Okay, so here's the Oatly PVC Rain or Shine medium blue cement. So if I open that up, then we can look at what it is. You can see they even say right here, this is the South Coast Air Quality Management District Rule 1168, which is what this is based on. And this is the Bay Area Air Quality Management District Method 40, which is the other one that they pull a lot of these from. So down. There you go, right there. Didn't focus. But right there, 510 grams per liter. So then you can go in. And you can see it gives you the allowable right there, and we're right at the allowable. Again, source maybe a cut sheet. Sometimes it's a website. I'll look it up on a website. And those may be cases where it's a little harder to provide documentation to the USGBC, and that's why they go 20% and not 100% of the products used have to be documented. And then again, baseline case. Oh, that probably would not do me well. And where that would be caught would be, it'll ask for check credit compliance. So when you get all done, then you go check compliance, and it should turn to a 1. And if not, then you need to go back and figure out. And in this case, the reason it's not allowing compliance is because I'll have to have the contractor sign on at the end of the project and click this box here, confirming that these are the only adhesives used on the job, and these are adhesive testing the fact that that's all that's been used on the job. So that's why I won't check compliance, but it would also kick compliance out if I had 5100 in there because it would not meet the VOC requirements. So that would be the other place that we cut. Unless the review committee would also kick it out in the first round of review, and you get a note back that it doesn't comply, and you can change it. So I'm trying to go to the, so you can see how that works. So if any of you want to go through any of these forms and stuff, I can have you come up here and do it. I think you get the basic idea of what has to happen with the forms, that you don't actually need to touch them. What we'll also have to do is we'll do some of the narratives, and maybe writing the narratives would be more instructive. So. And that was on which? Oh, well, that was probably there from the manufacturer, or that was may have been put on there by the manufacturer. Are you talking about the carpet submittal? Website or something like that. Well, I may not have scrolled down. I can go back and look at it. I may not have scrolled down. So it may have showed you this too. This is the way the uploads. I mean, you'll see this screen is very much like any screen where you've got to upload files. So I go add files, and then I just have to go and then I would go down here and find the LEED. And the other thing is the HVAC contractor may use PVC too, so they also have to submit their own cement submittal. And in this case, the plumber used a different PVC. The HVAC contractor actually used a PVC cement with primer and with the cement, as opposed to the plumber used a cement that actually has the primer built right into it. So I have two different PVC products to add. So it shows now that I uploaded a file. So that's the way the uploads go. Really not anything very exciting, but basically you just go find the file on your computer and then upload them. Probably wait and make sure that all those. Did I go through all the buttons here? This is basically, then we can see who's assigned, who's allowed to change this credit. So you can see there are a lot of other people on here. These guys are all mechanical engineers, so they have no need to deal with, this is a landscape architect, so they have no need to deal with this credit. So then you can assign the people that can actually alter the credit. And since I'm an administrator, I have access to this button. If you're like a mechanical engineer, you may not have the ability to change who's assigned credit. So that kind of limits people changing credits that they shouldn't be involved in. Licensed professional engineer, so there are some exceptions to, licensed professional exception, I'm sorry, exemption. So if you're an architect, there are certain credits that you can use an LPE on and not have to document the credit. It's a little bit different. Saying that I've got a professional license, I'm an architect, I don't have to document that credit, I've taken care of it. So it saves you a little bit of the documentation. I've never used, I'm not a licensed architect, I've never used it, I'm not a professional mechanical engineer, so I've never used it. And I haven't seen anybody on project teams use it. You can add comments now, which you were never able to do with previous versions. So if, say for example, you want to explain something that happened within the credit, you have a little bit of a narrative here that you can add some, oh wait, I'm sorry, these are the review comments. So these will come back and show you what the review team said about a credit. I'll show you in another projects that's gone through the review. And then this takes us back to the things related to the credit. Licensed professional exception. I go on the USGBC's website and just search for LPE, and it should bring up all sorts of links for you to be able to figure out what it is. Their website is good for a lot. It's a good resource for a lot of information. I use it sometimes when I'm looking for certain things on a credit. All the addenda for these are online, so you can look all of that up, because, I mean, you have to go through, and what I normally do is I'll get all the addenda and then actually write them into my reference guide so that I have them there, because I've had things change where it was like I thought we were getting the credit, and all of a sudden I look at the agenda and go, oh, wait a minute, we've got to do this too now. They changed that a little bit. So, depending on when you have the reference guide published, there may be addenda that you have to pay attention to that have changed some things. No, here, usgbc.org. So it's the main USGBC website. And then if you just go, professional section. But you get the idea. So it's just the main USGBC website. So let me show you what review committees can do. Oops. What I want to do is get back to my opening screen. Okay. So this project is in review right now. I worked on this project with LCA and with Orman Builders. And it's gone through an initial review. The architect, first time he had ever done a project, sent it through for design review after we were done with the project. So it's gone through design review, and now it's in the project review. So if we go and we look at the credits, now we can look at the review comments. So you'll get this kind of a statement back. I'll give you a minute to go ahead and read through that. So do you need me to explain what they're talking about? Okay, so this is for transportation, bicycle storage and changing rooms. So there are some requirements that go into this. So what they're talking about here, what they're talking about is that you have to supply bicycle storage facilities to serve at least 5% of the building occupants, and you use the full-time FTE, full-time employee is what that stands for, and transient occupants. So it's a school, right? So you've got a lot of students. Those aren't considered a full-time employee. They're a transient visitor. So you make that calculation, and that actually applies across the FTE calculation, applies across a lot of the different credits. And they're saying, and then shower facilities for 3.57% of the building occupants. They're assuming that people that bicycle may want to, if they're there all day, they may want to change clothes, so they may want to shower and change clothes. So then you have to prove that you have enough showers to meet that criteria. But what they're saying is, and in this case, the showers are across, they're not in the building that they built. They can be within I think it's 200 yards of the building. So what they're saying is, we don't see within the project boundary showers and changing rooms, so please explain to us where they are. So what I would normally do for something like this is give them a site plan that's large enough that shows where the other building is, where the shower and changing rooms are, and then do a measurement. I showed you on like Google. You could almost do it on Google Earth and show the measurement on there and put a label on it to say, 175 yards or whatever it is. So then you can show the distance it is away to get to the shower and changing rooms. And then they're asking for a narrative explaining what it is. So you basically say the shower and changing rooms are actually, across the breezeway in this other building, and then you may even upload a floor plan of the other building showing where the showers are so that they have an idea of that whole thing. And then I don't know why they're saying alternative will provide supplemental calculations confirming that sufficient bicycle storage and shower facilities have been provided to serve all occupants. And they're kind of a little redundant in that way in their comment. In other words, if you're using another facility, there may be more people. So they're not necessarily in that LEED building. So if you only have enough to cover the people in that building, and you're not covering the other people, well, then there may be more people using the shower and the bicycle facilities than that 5.19. In other words, the showers may be more, and changing rooms may be more occupied than what the USGBC says you need to have to serve that building. So the other building would have to have enough to serve all that other building's occupants plus the new building's occupants is basically what they're saying. And they've gotten a little more strict on that because I've never gotten that piece of the individuals who are not part of this LEED project. So, and like I said, they keep tightening the rules and defining the language better and better all the time. So that's one that I think we're doing that on this project because there are showers in the full-time occupants of like 3. I mean, it's a couple of paramedics living there, so I think we'll document that one. Let's see here. Yeah, this one's still in review, actually. So you'll notice over here, see where it says pending? And these say that awarded. So pending, what that means is that it's gone through an initial review, and they're asking for additional documentation. Attempted means that the project is attempting them. Awarded means that the review committee was satisfied with the documentation that was provided, and they're awarding you that credit. And they use, it's weird because they have awarded and then they have approved, and approved is for, so some of these don't go into the credits, so they're approved rather than awarded because you don't earn any credits for them. You have to do it. And they would only approve the process versus award you a credit for it. So that's why the language is different for that. And then not attempted or credits that you didn't attempt on the project, obviously. So that's how those all work. It was funny because when the architect first emailed me back and said, "Oh, we didn't have a single credit rejected," I was like, "Wow, that's amazing." And then I found out he only did design review, and I'm like, "Oh, so that's only about 10%, 15% of all the credits." So you can see all these have not been reviewed. They're back at the USGBC right now, and I'm pretty sure Casey's submitted this for review. So, I hope you guys can talk to me about this. I was wondering why this was taking so long. Oh, he submitted it. Because see, it shows construction preliminary application, so it hasn't even gone through the initial review for construction. Normally it would say under review, so that's interesting. And the clarifications here, I think, are where you can clarify some other things. Maybe from again the review. They changed this whole interface about 4 months ago. meeting actually for the Riddenbach paramedics project, and it's about to take the county through all the same interface, and they changed it on me like the night before, so I go and open everything up and kind of going, oh, what goes where? I don't know where anything goes. So it was interesting. Let's see here. We're already over. It's 1:10. So what I'll try and do is let me play around with the computer a little bit, and maybe I can get those other templates working. I'll get a little more documentation uploaded, and next time what we can do is talk about some of these other ones. I'm going to meet with Doug, I don't know if it's tomorrow or later this week, work on the daylight and views documentation. I think that's some interesting documentation. We haven't talked about site project boundaries and how to define that, so we can talk about that a little bit. And I'm sure I have more submittals coming down the road. So, Helen, do you have a LEED reference guide? So how did you get all, did you just look online to research most of your comments and everything? The score sheet? Because, I mean, you even found the green level plus, realized you need the green level plus. Okay, okay. Because I know without the reference guide, it's hard, and I don't know how to figure out another way to provide you guys with a reference guide that I could give you stuff to evaluate more and have you upload some things, or at least. Well, send it to me. Let me take a look at it, and then I'll see how up to date it is. Because I mean, this is LEED 2009, so it probably hasn't changed that much from if it was only a couple of years old. I mean, like I said, there may be some addendum or things like that, but for the most part, the credits will still be the same, and all the information will still be valid. And then, is there anything else that you guys would like me to cover that I have assumed that everybody knows? I mean, sometimes I don't know what you guys don't know, so if there's something that you need me to cover, I'd be more than happy to go over it with you. Maybe I can go over some of this too with you next time. We can go through some of these documents and talk a little bit about this stuff. Maybe I can save it. Well, I'll save it, and I'll send you guys this so that you can take, okay, for example, it used to be you could pick any project boundary you wanted, so if you didn't have, if your owner wanted to put in all turf, which would not meet the water use requirements for landscaping, and you just use the 2 flower pots out front so that they would be into your landscape. So you could draw the line right around the building and have literally no perimeter, no other part of the project boundary. So now they're saying you've got to make it a reasonable project boundary. So, I mean, we doodle around with the project boundary to figure out what would work best for us and things like that. So now they're defining that a little bit better. So I'll send you these documents, and that you can read through those, and then if you have questions about that, I can answer those questions. And they've set these requirements. So this is probably worthwhile to have on hand if you got involved with a building and you were in the early design stages. These are some things for you to think about and consider, because obviously something like this, if you don't have 1,000 square feet, they're probably going to push you into something like LEED for homes or some other, figuring out something else, or a commercial interior job or something like that. So you'd want to think about those things early on at project inception. occupancy rates, obviously. And this is now something you have to get your owner to comply with, reporting the energy and water use for 5 years. That means the owner could lose their certification, their building certification, if they didn't report that for 5 years. So you would want your owner to know that going into it, so that all of a sudden you get down to the end of the project and you go, oh, by the way, you have to share that information. And for some reason they're concerned about sharing that information. Actually, with Idaho Power, when we did their project up in Lakeport, they didn't want to share all the energy information with anybody. It seemed a little odd to us because they built a LEED Gold building, but then they didn't want to share any of the energy information, energy consumption information. So we just thought that was a little different. And here you go. Here's another requirement that put in place too. Then you have this requirement. So those are some changes for 2009. So I'll send you this document and we'll help you a little bit with the reference. And sometimes you get into things. I was working with local construct on their Bruce project that they're doing, and it's a mixed-use building, so there will be there'll be a restaurant in it, and I think there'll be some commercial spaces, but most of it is going to be apartments. So you go LEED for homes, or do you go building design and construction, the new construction, LEED NC it used to be called. So they were working through that. So you have to look at the criteria for what it is and then be able to figure out what it would apply. In their case, it'll end up being LEED for homes. And then what I think I'm going to do is, and maybe I can copy it out of the project manual here, so you guys all get some actual project experience. I feel like rather than just sitting here and talking to you, what I need to do is have you guys do some of the narratives. So maybe what I can do is do screenshots of the templates, send you the template, and then give you the ones that need a narrative written, have you then take I can send you the pages out of the guidebooks so that you understand what you have to do, and then have you write the narrative, and then we'll take care of uploading the narrative online, just so you get some actual project experience working on doing some of the documentation. I mean, it seems silly to me to have you set up here when we get more practical experience than any other web user. So we'll do that. So, oh, you're going to check with him and see if you have any questions? Okay, well then we're good. When do we want to